Welcome to DPA. I want to use this opportunity today, Sunday, to explain a very important and persistent topic that has been presented to us in DPA. By the way, my name is Emeka Uwonye, the founder of the Due Process Advocates, DPA. Based on recent posts that I have made on our forums and platforms, many people have sent messages to me and have also presented questions on the public, on the platform itself. And the issue has been the difficulties some women are having in getting their marriages registered. The problems emanate in a number of ways. Either that during the time the couple is dating and preparing to get married, the man promised that there was going to be a registry marriage, that is, a court marriage, that is, a marriage that only the court of law can dissolve, which can occur in a couple of ways. Either you go to the marriage registry in your local government and get your marriage registered, or your marriage is celebrated by a licensed church involving a process that is integrated with the marriage registry procedure, and you get married in the church and you become, you have a registered marriage that way. That is the two ways, these are the two ways that your marriage could get registered. So, during the time a couple is dating, the man promises that there was going to be a marriage registration. They were going to have a marriage registry, either in the registry or through the church. And then the man, after the traditional marriage, the man stops wanting a registry marriage. He becomes satisfied that he has gotten married but without registry, that is traditionally. Either in that scenario, the man refuses to go all the way and complete the marriage procedure in the registry, or a second scenario, a woman gets married traditionally and then becomes aware of marriage registry or the implications of not having a marriage registry, and she comes to her husband and requests that their marriage be registered, and the man says no. So we're going to deal with these two situations differently. The first part is where the man promised to have the marriage registered but changed his mind. When that happens, there is fraud in the marriage. There is dishonesty in the marriage. There is a failure of a promise that was made before you got married. In other words, you wouldn't have married him if not because he promised that there was going to be marriage registry. That was why you got married to him. That was the inducement. That was part of the things that influenced your decision to get married to him. But after the traditional marriage, he changes his mind. If that happens, there has been a fraud, marriage fraud. Somebody lured you into a marriage based on promises that he had no intention of keeping. If that happens to you, you must understand that right from the very beginning, your husband has taken a dangerous step to undermine the marriage, to undermine your status in the marriage, to make sure you have no right or very limited rights in the marriage. Unfortunately, many women felt trapped because by the time this controversy emanates, the woman is either already pregnant, she's already compromised in a significant way, such that she cannot just walk away, and she settles down for such outcome. And that is the beginning of your problems. Because we may ask ourselves, why on earth would a man refuse to register his marriage, especially when he once promised he would? Why on earth? The only reason is deception. The only reason is fraud. He wants to cheat you. If you are in a marriage that is not registered, let's not make any mistake. Your rights are highly compromised. It is impossible, really, to live a normal married life in a modern society without having your marriage registered, especially in a country like Nigeria, where the law, your rights under the law as a married woman are all based on whether your marriage is registered or whether your marriage is not registered. So when your husband refuses to register your marriage, you should treat it as a situation worse than a divorce. It is a situation worse than adultery. It is a situation worse than a second or polygamous marriage. Now, let me give you a few examples. And the obvious example we give in this country at this moment is the case of Yul Edochie. If you look at that case very closely, you find out that the rights of May Edochie are based on the fact that she had a statutory marriage. May Edochie, Yul Edochie, had a registry marriage under the Marriage Act. That is the basis of her rights. If she did not have statutory marriage, she will have no voice to speak today. If she did not have statutory marriage, that would mean that her husband is free to do what he's doing. That would mean that Judy Austin is free to get married to her husband. That would mean that the wife will be forced into a polygamy, which, as you know, is a fundamental compromise of her life. It's a fundamental compromise of her rights. She will not accept it. She should not accept it. Anybody put to accept such thing is being dehumanized and denigrated. So she's got that right, and that right is based on the fact that she had a statutory marriage. So those of you women, you send me messages, you tell your husband to go for registry, and your husband says no. Let me make it clear to you. Your husband is cheating you. Your husband is dishonest. Your husband doesn't want you to have the rights of a wife. Your husband wants to relegate you to the background, to the status of a concubine. That's what you will be if you don't have a registry marriage. I'm telling you this because I've heard a lot of people talk nonsense about how traditional marriage is equally good. It's not equally good. I know the law, and they know the law too. They want to have the right to have a second wife. They want to have the right to force a second wife on you. They want to have the right to do as they like. Because without a statutory marriage, your husband is free to commit adultery. Because adultery will be necessary for him to process the next woman to consider her a second wife. So please, make no mistake about it. If your husband is refusing statutory marriage, it is not a small problem. It's a fundamental problem. You should go and look for help. I suggest you go and get a lawyer. And the lawyer who understands the law will know what to do. He will contact your husband. I will personally contact your husband and ask him, why on earth do you not want a statutory marriage? And if he explains it, then we will consider a number of options. We can come up with a private arrangement, a private agreement that will secure some of your rights, though based down on a contract, not based on the marriage laws. Because under the marriage laws, if you're not married, under the Marriage Act, statutorily, you've got no rights, very limited rights indeed. So let us avoid all this confusion. First and foremost, every woman should ask herself right now, are you married statutorily or not? At least you need to know. Of course, there are people already in polygamous marriage. There are people in that sort of marriage. Those ones will not be entitled, or they won't have right to push for statutory marriage. But I can say something to you now. You should know where you stand. You should seek help. But do not accept the story that the statutory marriage is just as good, or the customary marriage is just as good as statutory marriage. No such thing. It's not true. I hope by this I have been able to answer the questions of many of you. Thank you so much.